Thank you for joining me. This tutorial is going to be on cherry cheesecake. First, I make the crust. The crust is fine brown. I have brown, orange, and ecru in here. I actually have the mixture in my written tutorial that's going to be in the descriptions. I use a round Kemper pattern cutter. It's just a 3/4 of an inch circle. You can use other sizes to make your cherry cheesecake larger or smaller. And something that's actually pretty cool is if you wanted to just cut a square with your clay blade, you could make cherry cheesecake squares instead, which would be really pretty. So what we're going to do here is trim the edges. I have good photos of this in the tutorial. It's best if you do it from a bird's eye view so you can get a good perfect triangle. It's harder to do that when you're doing it at an angle like I am right now, but I'm really just trying to show you all the steps in the process. So here is my side. I take a safety pin, or you could use a needle tool, and you go in circles along the whole side to texture it. You do that along all the sides, and then you bake it. So when you bake it, this is your crust. Now, from here, mix your cheesecake mixture. I have the actual mixture in my written tutorial. You're going to want to clean your hands between steps whenever you're working with the cheesecake. Right now, this is the 4th time I've tried to film this because I keep on getting phone calls and it stops my filming process. So I'm trying to be quick and I'm not worrying too much about the lint anymore at this point. But if you clean your hands between each step, it will help. I rolled about a 1/2 inch ball, and then I make a cone shape and I start flattening the cone shape. From here, I take my finger, get a little TLS on it, and I tap it onto my crust. This kind of helps act as a glue. And I put my cheesecake slice on the crust. From here, I shape the back of the cheesecake by going around. That's that curved back edge. I go around trying to make it flush even with the back of the cheesecake. And from here, I'm going to trim the edges. Try not to slice into your fingers doing this. So there we have one straight edge. Here we have another straight edge. It usually brings the back in a little far. So you pinch and squeeze. You reshape. After you finish reshaping, you texture the cheesecake. You texture the cheesecake by taking a toothbrush and going along the back end. For the side of the cheesecake texture, you'll put a tiny bit on. Not much, just a tiny bit, very light texture. And I like to drag the side of the cheesecake. For me, that's a much more realistic texture. And now we're going to color the cheesecake to make it look toasty. If you're doing a cheesecake square, you don't need to do this. You just texture the sides of your square because cheesecake squares are cut into so you don't see that baked edge. And you can also leave it white for a non-baked cheesecake, but if you're trying to do a baked cheesecake, you're going to want to add a little bit of yellow ochre, pastel dust to the sides. Here we go. And then I take a little bit of a rust ochre, just a little bit on the side and maybe the very top rounded part of the corner. So there we go. There's the toasted part of our cheesecake. You're going to want to take your time, just so that way it doesn't get messy for you. So from here, for the cherries, the pomegranate Premo is a really nice color, and that you could use that on your own, or you could add a touch of that alizarin crimson. Don't know how to say that word, but it's a really dark, rich, deep red, and I like it. This little snake that's rolled is 2 millimeters. I take some slices off of there. I roll them in a ball with my fingers to get the cherries. Trying to be quick as possible so you're not waiting too long. I will eventually be trying to edit the photos down. Right now my computer is very full of stuff, so I'm now pouring some Fimo deco gel on my paper. You can see that. You could also use the TLS. From here, I have red powdered food coloring, and I put a little bit in my Fimo deco gel. And usually I use my toothpick, but for small areas I will use the safety pin to actually decorate, so I'm not being sloppy and getting the Fimo deco gel all over. But I usually add just a little bit to the center of the cheesecake to help act as a glue. So there we go. And then, to decorate the side of the cheesecake, I add a little bit to the top. The Fimo deco gel actually is pretty thin, and it will spread out and sink as it's cooking. So you don't have to worry about it covering the cherries. You'll be able to see the cherries through it. Where if you use the liquid Sculpey, you may not always be able to see the cherry clay underneath. I always make a little sauce fall down the side. If your cherry cheesecake isn't too small, you could even do 2 drips. I put some on the opposite side there, not a lot. And then I'll place it in my baking pan. So pretend this white piece of paper is my baking pan. I'll put some on the side next to it, and I like to add 1 cherry right there, and then I'll even cover the cherry in some. Let the cherry have some syrup dripping next to it on the baking pan, and then that would be it. So from here I'd cook it. And after that, you would just do a little bit of glaze varnish to make it look all nice and wet. So here is one finished version that's dark red. This one has a slightly lighter red color. That's just choosing how much red food coloring you put in your Fimo. So here's some cherry cheesecake. The written tutorial also has blueberry cheesecake, and please feel free to let me know how you like this tutorial. I will be adding more cherry items as soon as I possibly can. Since I'm doing the cherry theme, we'll have several. If you want me to actually make a bracelet out of some of these cherry themed foods and like to see how I do my charm bracelets with the crystals, let me know. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you would like to see more, and let me know what you'd like to see. Thanks. Bye.